What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So as promised, today we're going to be putting my 2023 C8 Corvette against my 2022 Toyota Supra 3.0 Premium. We're going to talk about the looks, we're going to talk about the sounds, we're going to talk about the daily practicality of owning or driving these cars, and overall, which one is the better buy. Performance is getting less expensive to have. Kind of. To get a car like this for right around $63,000 and a car like this used for about $54,000 to $56,000, you can't beat it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The very first thing we got to talk about are the looks of these cars. Like, that's the first thing you're going to notice when you walk up to it to get behind the wheel. The Corvette has the sharp edges, it looks like an exotic, it has a huge road presence. To where the Supra, it has a lot of curves, it's smooth, it's sleek. To sum it up for the looks, the Supra just has these amazing curves and silhouette lines all the way throughout. And the Corvette is just strict road presence. It gives you that exotic personality and exotic feel. You have the side vents, you have the mid-engine. It's just a completely different dynamic. I daily drive my Supra, and the Corvette is kind of my weekend car, and honestly it is for the channel, so I drive it probably between 1 to maybe pushing 3 times a week. The Supra has a shorter wheelbase, the transmission is a lot more giving in terms of short distance drives and parking, and it is a smaller car. I could fit this car in so many places in terms of width and depth that the C8 could definitely not. Now, the Corvette is an amazing car. It is firm, it is smooth, it takes canyons like no tomorrow with the mid-engine technology that is put into this car for the balance to weight ratio. But this car has a few quirks. It gets extra hot in the cabin on hot days with the engine right behind you. Another thing that we're going to compare is the sound of these cars. These are two completely different cars in terms of the engine and in terms of sound. In the Supra, you do have a 3.0 inline 6 pushing around 383 horsepower on this car. And then in the Stingray Corvette, you have a V8 LT2 engine that is pushing at about 490 horsepower on this car. So for sure the C8 does have a little bit of strength in terms of horsepower over the Supra, and you do definitely feel it when you're behind the wheel. Now, it's not just about power, it's also about sound. The Supra has a hidden strength, and it is part BMW. It gives you those burbles and pops that the C8 Corvette does not. So let's hear it, and you tell me in the comments which one sounds better. The Supra does sound pretty good when you are in drive. When you're downshifting from third gear to second gear, you for sure hear those pops and bangs a lot more aggressively, especially when you're at about 43 miles per hour and you downshift to second. It is ruthless, especially underneath an underpass. Now, one benefit the C8 has over the Supra is remote start. And I didn't know you could do this. You could simply just double click the start button. You don't even need to lock the car. I did not know that for like 6 months. And I know what you guys are going to say in the comments. You're in the garage. Yes, the Corvette is going to sound a little bit more loud than the Supra. That's why I try to bring the Supra as close to the garage as I can. But regardless, whichever way you look at it, this is a V8. It is going to be a little bit louder than the Supra, but it's just a completely different car and completely different experience. There's no right sound or wrong sound. It's just a matter of which one do you like better. So we're going to let her warm up just a little bit more before we rev the LT2 engine, and then let me know down in the comments again, which one do you think sounds better on cold start and on rev? Now, one thing I love about the C8 compared to the Supra is just the idle. It's a V8 engine, and you just hear that brum, 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 brum. It just sounds so awesome when it's sitting at a light or just sitting in idle. You for sure hear the echo in the garage a little bit more, but obviously a V8 sounds a little bit louder than a Supra inline 6. Again, there's no right or wrong sound. It's just a matter of which one you prefer. The C8 just barks, it shouts. The Supra, you hear the turbo whistle, and then you have the pops and the gurgles and the bangs. Alright guys, so next we're going to be comparing the C8's interior compared to the Supra's interior. Sitting in the C8 Corvette, again, it feels a lot more roomy, the door is away from you and everything is oriented to you. Another thing that you're going to notice is that the windshield is tremendously bigger in width and in height. You have a very good view of the road, and the hood, again, as I mentioned earlier, is a lot closer to you than the hood of the Supra. The nose of the Supra is a lot longer, and it is still a very driver-focused car, but the Corvette, you really feel like you're in the driver's seat. I also like how the paddle shifters, my flags are blowing. I like how my paddle shifters on the C8 Corvette are, I believe, to be aluminum. They have a very good feel when you're shifting gear. They have a very good aesthetic look to them. And my Supra does have the carbon fiber paddle shifter extenders that I did. When we upgrade the steering wheel of the Supra soon, we for sure are going to have to get a carbon wheel with magnetic shifters to give me this feeling. I also do like how I could shift gears in the C8 Corvette. You feel like you're in a fighter jet. You put your foot on the brake, you pull up the D for drive, the R for reverse, you push the button to push it to park. It just feels very exotic. Where the Supra, you have just the normal traditional gear shifter. The thing I like about that is I do not just have to use the paddle shifters to shift gears. I could use the gear shifter, and it is not a manual, but it's cool to go back and forth from shifting it with the paddles to using the gear shifter. It just gives you a different experience, and when I drive my C8 Corvette, I do kind of miss the feature of banging through the gears from the shifter itself. When you're sitting into the car, it does feel a lot smaller, but it also feels a lot more comfortable. The Corvette is a lot wider, it's a lot longer. On the Supra, the visibility is not as giving. The windshield is still pretty decent, but it's not as wide as the C8, and it's definitely not as tall. The windows are going to be shorter from the top up here as well. If you're a tall person, I assume the visibility will be even less. Now, the strength the Supra has is you do have an easy access to see from the rearview mirror to the rear of the car. In C8, I do not have the camera, and I do have that mirror that I have to look through the glass through the engine bay, and the visibility on the C8 is not as giving. Now, the final thing to mention on the Supra, on the interior, in my opinion, is the gauge cluster. The gauge cluster is very simple. You just have your RPM, your gear shift, your mile per hour, your gas here. You could toggle, not many people know, you could toggle through it. I've mentioned in another video from that button, but ultimately, that's kind of really it. You could also see some of your features here if you go over towards, where is it? My vehicle, vehicle settings. You could go through your exterior lights. You could go through your system settings, like any other car. Driving information, sports display, that's pretty cool. You can see the torque and the power when you rev and accelerate on the car. The C8 has just a little bit more technology at your fingertips. You have normal mode, you have Z mode. I did not mention also, and obviously in the Supra, you do have a sports mode. Z mode is my custom mode. Then also you could toggle through the modes right there. And then that would put you into sports mode, and then that will also put you into track mode. And you could also customize your dash, and it gives you a little bit more information on the display up here. Over here, there's not as much driver focused things like the Supra. Obviously you have Apple CarPlay, the audio. You do have Bose surround sound system in the C8 Corvette. In the Supra, you have the JBL speakers. I think the Bose sound a lot better. You could customize the dash just a little bit more. Over here on audio, you could go through your performance, you could go through your maintenance. It tells you your oil life, your transmission filter life, which is very important in the dual clutch transmission. You also have a lot of other options you could do while driving and navigating through the car. The last thing we're going to talk about in regards to the interior of the cars is the storage. Just like the Supra, you have a trunk in the rear. It is a pretty good size. It is designed to fit golf clubs. The space is quite abundant, and you could fit a lot into this rear area of the car. And if you notice, when I opened up the trunk of the C8, there's a button right underneath the Corvette logo. Unlike the Supra, there is no button underneath the Supra logo. You have to push it from your key fob, which is kind of annoying when you have groceries, and then you got to squeeze your fingers right under there to lift it. Space in the Supra is not bad. I mentioned the cubic square footage in other videos, but it has a lot of easy access. It's a pretty good volume. If you have stuff, you could throw it straight from the driver's seat into the back cubby, which is amazing. The Corvette has its strength over the Supra is with the frunk. This frunk is forever surprising. Like, we went to the grocery store last night, we fit all of our groceries, paper towels, everything into this frunk. It is deep, it is wide, it has a lot of volume to it, and you rarely have to use the rear storage of the car. The storage back here obviously stays in room temperature because it is stowed with the cabin of the car. Whatever temperature the cabin is, your storage area is going to be very close to it. The engine is in the front of the car, as we're all aware. In the C8, first off, the front does not get too warm. You have the radiators in the front, so that does kind of warm it up just a little bit. But if you have perishables and you put them into the back of this car next to that engine, I don't even got to say it, you're going to have spoiled milk by the time you get home. This engine bay, even with the heat protectors and heat shields, it gets super hot and it leads into this area. So if you have perishables or you have something that you do not want to melt like chocolate, I would not put it in the back of this car. Now, where the cars are similar, and I never really expected it except for the first time I sat into a Lamborghini Aventador and I realized he put all his sweatshirts and everything right behind his seat. You actually have storage, depending on how tall you are, you have storage behind the driver and the passenger seat. I always throw my sweatshirts, hats, anything that I need access to later on right behind me. And the Supra, you have the same ability. You could throw sweatshirts, hats right behind you or into the cubby, and it's easy to access. Now, one thing both these cars have in common is when you have the doors and the trunks up, they look amazing. I love how the Supra has the high hatch, the carbon fiber wing is up there, and then the front, you have the zigs and the zags into the hood, matching the body panel lines. When the doors are open, you have the vents that stick out, that deck lid with the glass engine bay, especially with the wrapped roof now. It looks amazing. So, which one is better to own and which one would I pick? Now, this isn't to say I necessarily like one better than the other, but if I had to pick one and I had to daily drive it, the car that I would pick would be the Supra. I've had it longer. It has about 62,000 miles on it now. I've had much more experience of owning this car than the C8 Corvette. It's a little bit more nimble. The transmission is a little bit easier to utilize daily, and the cabin just stays a little bit cooler. And then the drivability of the car, it still has a lot of power. The pops and the burbles do not get old. Now, with that being said, it's not to say that the C8 is not a good car. It is an amazing car. It is an incredible weekend car, and the looks and the performance are second to none. Now, at the end of the day, they're both my cars and I own both of them, so this was just a fun video to make. But with that being said, if you were to pick one of these cars between the C8 Corvette and the Toyota Supra, let me know down in the comments, which one would you pick if you had to buy one today? Thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way up into the end. Do not forget to hit the like button. Do not forget to subscribe. We have so much more content to come. We'll see you on the next one.